does it take to create a vibrant, thriving life? First, the sad news is that Thoreau was right. Most people are leading quiet lives of desperation, lacking in meaning, fulfillment, and vitality. But we choose more. We choose to create extraordinary lives. And the Art of Vibrant Living show entertains you with inspiration, empowerment, and education to create your life into a masterpiece. It's time. Let's vibe up. All right, y'all. Hello, welcome. I am so delighted that you are here. I'm your host, Daniel Aaron, and this is the Art of Vibrant Living show. And as probably many of y'all know, at least those who are with us live, I am broadcasting to you from Hawaii. We have an incredible guest today who's also based on this island in Maui. And a lot of the world knows at this point that we've had some really devastating, challenging tragedy on our island over the last couple of days. Some extreme weather conditions created some big fires. And so as we start this show, letting you know that this is happening where we are, it is safe. A lot of the danger has passed for most people, and right now it's a matter of dealing with the devastation, cleaning up, and our hearts go out to so many people that have been impacted and affected, and directly or indirectly, it's affecting all of us here. All that said, we are, as they say in show business, going on with the show because even in the midst of tragedy, it's important that we cultivate brightness in the world. And so my invitation to y'all is to, of course, please enjoy the show today, interact with us. You get to ask Sandy your questions. I'm going to introduce her fully in a moment. And also, please keep Maui in your heart and send some well-wishing, some prayers to all the folks that have been hurt by the situation here, in hopes that the recovery will go as smoothly as possible, and that sooner than later we can find the silver linings and the blessings that come from these challenges. So with all that said, y'all, this show is all about creating a vibrant, thriving life, which is your birthright. And don't know about you, but for me, in my upbringing, my childhood, my education, early years before I started educating myself, did not include a whole lot about how to create vibrancy and how to thrive in the world. So that's been the focus of my life, and that is the focus of this show. I'm delighted that y'all are here with us again, live or by rebroadcast, and to tell you just a tiny bit about our guest today, Sandy Schneider. She's an amazing, amazing woman, super smart, huge heart. She comes from a corporate background where she was very accomplished. And I'm not going to say too much because part of what we're doing today is getting her story, because it will inspire you. It will amaze you. It's a story of hope, of belief, of transformation. And, she really did climb the corporate ladder, so to speak, yet at the same time, reach a point where it wasn't working for her. And then I'll say it this way. She might say it differently. I'm sure she will. Spirit led her in a different way. And it's amazing the way she has responded to the nudges of spirit, or maybe sometimes more than nudges. And I'm going to have her share that with you. So without further delay, let's bring Sandy onto the show. Sandy, thank you so much for being with us.
Aloha, Daniel. Thank you for that kind, warm introduction. I am grateful to be here today.
Awesome. Well, it's an honor for us to have you with us. I have the special honor and blessing of knowing you a bit already, right? Because we're associated in a business networking group. And we've become friends. And I heard your story from the beginning, which I think is part of why we became friends, because I said, hey, this is a woman I want to know. It is a bird of a feather. So would you tell us a little bit, though, because others don't have that same advantage? Tell our audience, more about who you are and how you got to be doing what you're doing. Well, and of course, what you're doing, because what you're doing is such a cool, unusual thing.
Yes, absolutely. It has certainly been, oh my goodness, an adventure, a journey full of emotions that have kind of gone up and down, knowing that today I'm exactly where I need to be. So, as you mentioned, my background, education wise, is psychology. I went to graduate school, moved into corporate America, started a career in human resources, primarily focused on developing leaders. And the reason that I kind of moved from the psychology into this corporate realm was because I had this desire to help people. And I thought that maybe this was a way I could do that. I worked in a variety of industries in a number of different states for about 20 years doing this work. And while my career has been defined as successful by the world's standards, it always felt like something was lacking, that something was missing for me. And I tried different jobs, I tried different companies, I moved. I kept trying all of these different things to figure out what that might look like. And then through a circumstance that I'm grateful for, my corporate job was eliminated in part of a corporate acquisition. I had the door open for me to leave that corporate environment and try something new. And that's where it began.
Yeah. Well, and you said it beautifully that you had the how did I forget the words you said, the blessing or the opportunity of downsizing, right? And did it feel like a opportunity or blessing at the time?
It felt like a blessing and an opportunity, then it felt like a tragedy, and then it felt like a blessing and an opportunity again. So when my corporate job was eliminated and I volunteered to leave that organization, I had gone back to coaching school, got a certification in life and leadership coaching, and I had decided to start my own coaching practice. I was super excited about this. I could do what I had already been doing, but do it on my own terms, work with the clients I wanted to work with. This was January of 2020, and all I could see was opportunity ahead of me. Then, as we know, things went in a different direction. In a matter of just a few short months, I found myself with no work, no home, and no real direction about where am I supposed to be? What am I supposed to be doing? Thankfully, I have family in St. Louis, Missouri. That's where I grew up, who said, just come home, just come home, just come home, which I did. And grateful for that opportunity, that welcome mat was extended to me. Now, I thought this would just be 1 to 2 months, and then this pandemic thing would blow over, and I would be on my way to Arizona, which is where I was in the process of moving. That, as we now know, did not happen. I found myself in St. Louis for a year and a half. And that's the time frame that I would call the tragedy, this just dramatic, emotional, tragic situation. That's how it was in my head. The rest of the world probably didn't see it that way. I created so much stress on myself. I was so frustrated for many months in 2020. And this manifested itself in a physical medical condition, in eczema all over my body, that prevented me from, sleeping, enjoying life. It was this total downward spiral. I was miserable. That to summarize, I was miserable. And I knew from all of my work in energy that I have control over my energy and my life circumstances. And all of these things happening in the world, these things happening in the news, are all just things. And I don't have to accept them. I don't have to live a certain way because of them. And so that gave me the freedom. Now, by the way, this didn't just happen overnight. Um, I sat in my misery for, gosh, 8 months before I said, nope, I'm doing something different.
Can I interrupt you for a second there?
Yeah.
Because part of what I heard in that is you knew in your head that you were creating this stress for yourself. You knew that it was an opportunity. And so as you were describing that, I think, wow, man, she is so advanced. Like, because I know stuff in my head, but I still suffer and create all this drama for myself sometimes. And then you described like, oh, wait, from the outside, it looked like everything was fine, but inside I was having this whole thing go on. So how does that happen? I mean, what do you think? Because it sounds like one part of you says, I know better, but then another part of you is like, oh man, I'm not able to use this knowledge. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yes. And it's such a great question. The reality is that I was miserable. This looked like lots of tears. This looked like high levels of frustration with myself and the way that I viewed the world. This led to tremendous amount of self-doubt. The thoughts that were cycling through my head is like, what are you doing? You left this successful corporate career for what? You're not making any money. You don't have any clients. What are you doing? Which then just continued this mental spiral that looked like I said, lots of tears, lots of distracting myself with junk in the world that wasn't really moving me forward. And then when my skin became such a problem that I couldn't stop itching, and the worst part was I couldn't sleep, and I need my sleep. That is when things got really bad. When it was I didn't have hope. I didn't see a way out because I was trying all of the things I had always done. I had kept applying for the work that I had always done. I kept working within the networks I had always worked with. I was using this very mental, cognitive strategy of doing what you always do that has always brought you success. And suddenly, none of that was working. And this continued the downward spiral. Every time I wasn't selected for something I had applied for, work that I had tried to get, it was just like one more failure. In my eyes. When I decided, it was December of 2020, when I decided I had to do something, it was because I could see myself. I could see myself like from this this different perspective. The tears, the frustration, the hopelessness, the ugliness of that. And I could see myself and this chapter. And I knew from all of the work I had done, from all the studying I had done, from the energy work I was working with clients on, I knew that even though I didn't know how to get out of this, I had to try something different. And that's when I met a woman. The opportunity presents itself to us. So it's not like I had a strategy and went out and found it. An opportunity presented itself to me to participate in a visioning workshop where I had the opportunity to try something I had never tried before. And by the way, I had pretty much poo-pooed all the vision board stuff in my life. Every time somebody would say, hey, let's do a vision board, I was like, I don't have time to cut pictures out of a magazine to put them on a poster board. I need to be doing other stuff. But I was desperate. So I thought, why not? And in that workshop, I was given the opportunity, the space to dream, to connect with my subconscious mind, to explore what do you really want. And it was in that space that I had a very clear image in my mind, one I could see, one I could hear, one I could smell, and it was Maui. Now, it was beautiful and I loved it, and I was like, yes, yes, yes. at the end of this experience, this was not rocket science. This was not something I had never considered before. I had lived on Maui before. I fell in love with the island. I felt more like myself on the island of Maui than I had ever felt before. So when I have this beautiful vision, my response is kind of like, oh, that's wonderful. Yes, I want that. And well, this isn't a surprise. I've known this. It's how do I make this happen? How do I make a return to an island that's one of the most expensive places to live? I no longer owned any property on Maui. I don't have family on Maui. So the how, because I did a lot of work up here cognitively, the how stressed me out. And my leader in that visioning exercise just kept saying, you don't have to know the how. And I was like, yeah, kind of, but I mean, okay. But I committed to following the process. And so I said, fine, I don't know the how. And 2 months after that exercise, I was driving my car. It was wintertime in St. Louis, cold, big winter coat on. I was driving my car to my friend's house on a road I drove all the time. And that day, the sun literally had come out. For those of you in the Midwest, you know that in the winter, it can be gray and cloudy. And I saw a sign that said Harmonic Healing. And I thought, what is that? I've never heard of that. I've never seen that. And so I Googled it and I found all these wonderful things about how this thing called a harmonic egg could help our physical bodies. And because my eczema was really disrupting my life and I had tried all the traditional medicine paths and nothing was working, I thought, what do I have to lose? Fine, I'll try it. And so that's when I met the harmonic egg, 2 months after the big vision.
Yeah. Okay. Ooh, that's so exciting what you shared in there. There's so much in that, and I love the cliffhanger of I met the harmonic egg, and so we're sitting here going, you met who? What?
I
What?
know, right?
We'll come back. We'll come back to that meeting in a moment. Something I so want to highlight and ask though in that process, he said something which is really awesome to recognize, that when you had the opportunity for the vision board or the vision class come up, part of your initial response, and tell me if I'm getting this accurate, is like, that's not something I'm into. That's not the kind of thing I do. Right.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah. And of course we've all had that thought. And there's the quotation by Einstein that we all know so well, which is, you can't solve a problem by the same level of consciousness that created it.
Yes.
Right. So on some level you were in this, I'd tried this and I'd tried that and I'd tried this and I wasn't getting any clients and I didn't have any money coming in. And what am I doing? I shouldn't have done this. Right. And that's a hamster wheel, a certain vibration. And you were not, for a while, it sounds like, able to get out of that or shift your vibration. Or another way of saying it is, you were not able to be somebody else, right? Your being was caught in that loop.
Yes.
Right. So what happened, the way I hear it, is this thing came up, and because there was enough, I don't know, pressure or pain, or just you were so disgruntled with that cycle and that vibration, that state, you said, I'll just play with being somebody else, somebody who is into like doing this vision stuff, even if it seems like strange. I'll play with that. Does that seem accurate? Fair?
Yes, absolutely. Like, why not? And I started to see that these were like nuggets on a trail. And it didn't happen right away, because I feel like my angels are like, seriously, we're going to have to hit you in the head again. Like, when are you going to start paying attention? The harmonic egg, I was desperate to help my skin. That's why I got in there. There was nothing more to it. I had never utilized sound or light therapy before. It was way outside of my realm. I had no experience with it, but I was desperate to sleep. I was desperate to, oh my gosh, not be itching. And so why not? sit in that thing, which I did. And afterwards, oh my goodness, I felt like I had gotten the best massage ever, and no one touched me. And I was in this blissful state, and I'm like, I don't know what happened in there, but it was good. I go home, I go to bed, I wake up in the morning, and I slept better that night than I had in over a year.
Okay, hold on. Before you
Yeah.
go on, I want to
Yeah. Yeah.
rewind
Yeah.
for a second
Yeah.
because it's possible we could have lost someone a little bit because the way I'm tracking is this is you're driving along on a road that you've driven many times before. Although maybe you're not driving on that road, maybe it's like a little bit different you, right? Because you've already
Mhm.
started playing with a different vibration, a different you. In any case, the body we know as Sandy is driving along on this
Yeah.
road, and you see what was it? Harmonic healing.
Yes.
Yeah. So you see harmonic healing, and you're like, huh, never noticed that before. And that's how you met the harmonic egg. And so clearly you had an experience with it because you just described a little bit like the feeling of the massage afterwards. But what was that part between you noticing the sign and meeting the egg? And what are you talking about? Egg? What
Okay,
explain?
well, you asked a really good question, Daniel, and this is where all those little nuggets, I go, "Whoa, what's happening here?" Um, Going back to December, somewhere, I think before, I'm not sure, somewhere in December of 2020, um, someone invited me to join a new social media small business networking site. And remember, I was trying all the things. So I did it. And the logarithm kept having people connect with me. And I was over it. I didn't care about any of the people. I didn't want to know any of the people. I was in such a negative place that I was just like, fine, I'll be your friend. Fine, I'll be your friend. I didn't go to their websites. I didn't connect with them. I did nothing. When I saw that harmonic healing physical sign on the building, and I'm driving and I'm thinking, harmonic healing, what is that? Where did that come from? I've never seen that before. What's harmonic healing? I don't know, but it sounds lovely. Then I thought, by the way, I don't believe this is because Sandy's super smart. I believe this was all presented to me. I remembered that one of those people who connected me with me on social media that I was just like, fine, fine, yes, and forgot about it. Her business was harmonic healing. And as I'm driving, thinking, well, that's weird. Something I've never seen before that intrigues me. And then there was someone who tried to connect with me, and I totally rejected her. Maybe there's something to this. So there were two kind of things that happened that led me to the website for that business, which led me to reading all of the things that were available about what the harmonic egg was and how it could heal the body, that how it could support the body in healing itself. That's when I said, I mean, what do you have to lose? 50 minutes relaxing? If nothing happens but I relax, that's probably worth the price of admission. So I did. And then I have this magical, beautiful, relaxing experience. I go home, I go to bed. And the next morning I wake up and I had slept better than I ever had before. And my second thought was, that's because you didn't wake up scratching, itchy. And so my third thought was, go look at your skin. And it was so dramatic. It's truly unbelievable. The eczema was not gone. By the way, it was everywhere on my body, just not on my face. It was on my scalp, not on the palms of my hands, soles of my feet, but everywhere else, along with bruises from scratching. Um, the eczema was not gone the next morning, but it was maybe 80% better. Crazy better. Crazy. I had been trying creams. I had tried all these things. Nothing worked at all. And then to have something so beautiful, so relaxing, make my skin 80% better. I was like, what happened in that egg? Because all I did was sit there. And that sent me on back to my usual mojo, which is, how does it work? Research it. So I research harmonic egg. I find the inventor. I find she has a book. I buy the book on line. It comes to me in 2 days. I read it in 2 days. And that satisfied my cognitive brain's need to know, but how does it work? Which is sound and light energy. It's vibration in a resonant chamber. Once my cognitive brain had what it needed to go, okay, there's something to this, then I couldn't ignore something else that happened to me in the Harmonic Egg. And that was what I would classify as a spiritual experience. I knew in my whole body, not up here where I had been making all of my decisions. I knew it in my whole self that I was to bring the Harmonic Egg to Hawaii. Now, I had this thought in my first egg session at the end. And as I know this, it's like I'm having a conversation with myself. My ego is saying, that's the dumbest idea you've ever had. You don't know anything about this Harmonic Egg. You don't know if it works. You don't know how much it costs. By the way, you've been to the spa a lot and loved it, and you've never wanted to buy a spa. You don't know anything about this. And oh, a reminder, you don't live in Hawaii anymore. So good luck with that. So all the poo ideas, and starting the next day when I woke up, all of those objections just ticked off the list.
It ticked off the list. What do you mean?
So one of them was, you don't even know if it works.
Right.
And the next morning, I could see my skin was clear and I wasn't itchy. You don't even know how it works. I read the book and went, oh, like there's some science behind this. There's explanation. There's research that has been done for years and years and years on this. Okay, so now I understand a bit more about how it works. Check that one. You don't live in Hawaii anymore. After I told so I'm jumping ahead. That one got ticked off too, but I'll tell you how I got to there. I couldn't stop thinking about I'm to bring the Harmonic Egg to Hawaii. And it scared me. I didn't know what to do with that, but it was so strong. I knew I had to do something. So I read the book and I'm like, okay, now I understand it, but now what? I go to the website and there was this button on the website that said something like, interested in purchasing a Harmonic Egg, click here. I sat on that website with my mouse hovering over it. I couldn't click it. Because I'm a coach, I know the value of coaching. I always have coaches in my life. And I'm talking to my coach and I start with, I got to tell you something. And it's crazy. I know it's crazy. I'm going to sound crazy. Crazy was my word. It was all crazy. And she's like, just tell me. I tell her about the Harmonic Egg. And she's like, with a big smile, she says, this is not crazy. This is beautiful. And I'm like, are you sure? Because it sounds a little bit crazy. So she was very supportive and said, well, what's the next step? What are you going to do? I'm like, well, I don't know. And she's like, are you sure you don't know? I'm like, well, there's this button on this website, but I haven't clicked it. And she's like, well, okay, well, why not? And I'm like, because I don't know what's going to happen when I click it. And she's like, okay, good coach. She's like, okay, like, well, what could happen that you're trying to avoid? And I'm like, I don't know. What if I click it and it says, congratulations, you have now just purchased a $1 million Harmonic Egg. And I'm like, oh, I don't have $1 million to spend on a Harmonic Egg. What do I do if that happens? And she very calmly looked at me and said, okay, I guess that could be an option. But I suspect that there's probably other options that might happen when you click that button. And I'm like, oh. And suddenly that frenetic energy just went, oh, yeah, there could be other options. Yeah, you're right. And so we talked through normal things, like what could happen, such that she encouraged me to click the button. I clicked the button, and here's what happens. A form popped up on the screen, and it said, please enter your name, your email address, and your phone number. We'd love to talk to you about the Harmonic Egg. That was it. And so I like held my breath as I clicked it, and then I went, that's it? That's all that happened? So I'm like, fine, here's my information. But that is what started the process of talking to them, learning about what does it mean to buy a harmonic egg, and what does that look like, and is this possible? And that was a back and forth for a few months, leading me to a space where because I knew, I had no idea how, but I knew I was supposed to be doing this. And so I purchased 2 with the intention to bring them to Maui. Now, remember, my vision board had Maui all over it. And I was like, but how am I going to get to Maui? And suddenly I have this like clear opportunity, this clear path for returning. So at the same time that my head is saying, this is crazy, I also know that these nuggets are all just lining up, these gifts, which I believe came from my angelic team, who are around me all the time, who don't want to hit me upside the head, but sometimes have to for me to get the information I need. All of these things were planted. And then I went, oh my gosh, that connects to that. Okay, I should do this. I should do this. I should do this. And so when I sign the purchase agreement to purchase them, I tell my family I'm moving back to Maui. And a few weeks later, my sister and brother-in-law, remember, I didn't have anywhere to go when I moved. I just knew I was moving. My sister and brother-in-law call out of the blue and say, we've been thinking about buying a vacation home in Maui. And if you're going back, we thought, maybe we should pick Maui as the location. Do you want to join us on this adventure? Do you want in on this deal? Do we want to do this together? And so one of those objections I had on my list was, you don't even live in Hawaii. And suddenly there was this opportunity that presented itself easy, like it was a gift on a silver platter, like, here you go. And by the way, I said no the first time. I was like, no. I can't spend money on real estate. I need to put money into this new business. And they graciously brought it back up, and I accepted that beautiful gift. And so we together purchased a property on the island that allowed me the opportunity to move back 9 months after that original vision board that had Maui all over it.
Wow. So let's take a look at a couple things before we get to the next part, because one, you could have been driving along and said, oh, harmonic healing, that's some mumbo jumbo, or that's one of those people I didn't even want to connect with.
Yes.
Right? Even if you've got the clear connection, but something in you said, I want to check this out. Right.
Yes.
And at the end of that first session, you got this clear insight, sound, vision. I don't know in what way it came, but the download, as the New Age community loves to say, you got the download that you're supposed to take the harmonic egg and bring it to Hawaii, right?
Yes.
And in your mind, you're thinking, craziness. There's no way. That's like ridiculous, right? Which, by the way, one of my favorite quotations ever is, I paraphrase, Krishnamurti said, to be well adjusted to an insane society is not a sign of sanity.
Yes.
So, but then even after that, you did another thing, which is not normal, which is you took some action, right? You got the book, you did some research, you went on the website. It took you overcoming a lot of crazy resistance to click on the form, which was anticlimactic, but right. you kept stepping into action, right? And one of the really sad things about the New Age community and kind of the misunderstanding from The Secret is like, oh, I get a vision and then it will just happen. But you had a real bias toward action, and you kept taking steps along the way, even though part of you said, this is craziness. Why would I do this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. A big part of me said, this is crazy. A big part. But remember that I had this corporate career. I was the corporate person. I had the corporate suits and I shared the corporate message. My background in psychology was research oriented. I was very focused on the scientific research process. It was this very black and white, heavy cognitive processing of everything, of life as a whole. And it was not bringing me joy. And I knew it, but I never said it because I wasn't processing it that way. And I didn't know what to do about it. So it felt like silly. And so I had to get to a place of desperation. And that was the only way, which is such a hard way to do this. This is why I like to tell this story. Like, you don't have to do it this way. There's a much easier way to do this. But I got to a place physically, mentally, emotionally desperate for something different. And once I relinquished control, said, I don't know, then I was able to see the opportunities that were all around me. And then once I started taking them, it was like magic. What would happen? And so I was motivated and inspired, like, this is crazy. This is crazy. I said that all the time to all the people around me, like, this is crazy. You won't believe what happened to me today. And I just kept taking those steps. There was action on my part, and it was so easy. I tell my clients those action steps are called baby steps. Because when we think about, for example, a move across the country, it can be overwhelming. There's so many things to consider how to make that happen. But when you think about a baby step, like clicking a button on a website, you go, oh, well, yeah, I can do that. And I love it when my clients are like, oh, but that's not really a step. I'm like, oh, but it is. Oh, but it is. It doesn't have to be these huge, grandiose steps. It's just one little one that you can't come up with any good reason why you can't do. And do it, and you will be surprised at what will open up before you.
Beautiful. What would you say then to, somebody's listening to us, watching us either live or on the rebroadcast, who's hearing what you're saying. And I know this because I've been in this position in myself at times in my life, hearing what you're saying and saying, yeah, but my situation is overwhelming. It's, and maybe it's not eczema, and maybe it's not bankruptcy, and maybe it is my house just burned down.
Yes.
Or maybe it's, who knows what it is. There are lots of different variations on it. And you and I both know, we've had the experience of when we're in it, it doesn't feel like, oh, this is leading me to something wonderful and what a gift this is. What would you say to someone who is in the midst of something like that right now? What can they do or think, or what would be helpful for them?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. I think that's an important question. The circumstances that we as humans are facing at any point in time are real, and the emotions that are generated from those circumstances are real. And so when someone is in that space, whether it's traumatic or it's a simple disappointment or a frustration, there's an opportunity to acknowledge it for what it is. That didn't go the way that I thought. That didn't go the way that I wanted. This is terrible. It is okay and encouraged to acknowledge those emotions, to name them, to experience them so that we can move through them. And the question for each and every one of us is, how long do you want to sit in that space? How long do you want to sit in that pain, that struggle, that name whatever your favorite icky emotion is? How long do you want to sit in that? And for most of us, we don't want to sit in that. It feels terrible. And yet we sit in it because we don't know what else to do. We're overwhelmed. We don't feel like we have options. And so we just sit in it and continue to, as I felt, this downward spiral. But at any point in time, all of us have the opportunity to say, I don't want to sit in this any longer. I don't want to be in this space any longer. I don't want to see the world through these eyes any longer. Whatever that is for you, you have the opportunity to shift. You have the opportunity, and this is going to poke some people in a trigger spot. It would have been mine. You have the opportunity to see the gift or opportunity that is before you. And people will say, what? There's no gift or opportunity here. This is terrible. This is tragic. I've never felt worse. There's no way out. And yet, somewhere in that circumstance is a gift or an opportunity. And that is where a coach, a therapist, one of the many health and wellness practitioners that are in our community can help people see, how do I dig through the crap to find the gift or the opportunity in this situation? And trust me when I tell you, when you see a glimmer of a gift or an opportunity in that situation, your vibration changes. And suddenly you're seeing the circumstance, the very same circumstance, with different eyes. And when you see it with different eyes, you'll see, oh, where did that thing come from? I had no idea that that was a possibility. Oh my gosh. And then follow it. Take a step in that direction and see what happens.
Nicely said. Beautiful. So when you look back at the that period that was so difficult for you, do you would you change it? Do you regret what happened?
Oh, that's a good question.
I mean, and I ask it in part because I guess the question, and we can never really answer it, but would you be where you are now without that? Did you need that?
No, I needed it.
Yeah.
I've had decades of opportunity to shift, and I didn't do it. And so I needed that corporate job to end. And I could have at any point resigned. I could have at any point done something different, but I didn't, because it was what I knew. It was what I had prepared for. It was what I had worked for. It was a paycheck that I enjoyed. It was all of these things that made it comfortable and yet dissatisfying to stay in. And that space, that comfortable yet dissatisfied space, is where I think way too many of us live. I call, in my practice, I call it living your fabulous life. And I teach people that everyone can have a fabulous life. And your fabulous life looks different than my fabulous life, but it doesn't mean it's not fabulous. It's what you want as your fabulous life. And people like myself in that time and space go yeah, sure, you can create a fabulous life. Let me tell you about what I'm dealing with. That space is real, and it keeps people doing the same thing. And I knew I didn't want to get to the end of my life and wish that I had done it differently. So would I do it again? I forget how you framed your question. It happened exactly the way it needed to happen for me and at who I was at that time. And I made that really hard for myself. but I had to experience the pain. I had to develop a physical condition. Generally, I'm a healthy person. I had no other physical conditions. Um, if it so many people are helped through stress and anxiety with the harmonic egg. But for me, if it would have been something mental that I couldn't see, that I couldn't show other people, I would have dismissed it. I know that. I know that about me. And so I am grateful that the I'm grateful that I got the eczema, which was terrible, terrible, because it gave me the physical thing that I could see, I could show you, I could prove to myself and the world that thing did something positive for me, which justified the purchase, which justified building a business around it, which justified a move back to Maui. So I'm grateful for this wild ride.
Yeah. Well, it's so nicely said. Thank you. Part of what the way I hear it is like it's so easy for all of us to be that proverbial frog in the water that's slowly heating up. And so when you describe your, decades of corporate experience and you weren't happy with it, but you were comfortable, right? Because the
Yes.
water hadn't changed really fast. It was just slowly boiling you, but a little bit. And so you could tolerate it. But then, right, then you get the eczema, and not only is it like physical and you could see it, it's like literally like driving you crazy.
Oh,
You have to like
driving
stop
me
at it.
crazy. Yeah.
I was speaking with a client the other day and speaking about a relationship, and he's had a relationship with his wife that's just little by little gotten to the point
Mhm.
where it's not very warm, and they've said things they don't like to each other. And and it's like that had somehow become normal, and I felt like my job was to
Mhm.
like smack my hands really loudly and say, no man, that's not you, that's
Yeah.
not how to live. And we all need that sometimes, whether it's the eczema or some physical thing or some life situation to wake us up and shift things.
Yes.
And I'm with you. If we can have conversations like this, and like one of my favorite quotations, Lazarus said, if you can hear the whispers, you don't need to hear the screams, right?
Uh-huh. Yes.
So
Yes. Yes.
this is our way of inviting and hopefully sharing some of our experiences that, hey, you know what, maybe there are some whispers right now that you can hear in your life that will lead you to less screams, less eczema, less slaps in the face.
Yes.
So and since time is flying along and we could talk about this forever, you've talked about the harmonic egg, and I think we've pieced it together that you made the move and you got to Maui, and you're now here and you are offering other people the experience of the harmonic egg. I know because I had the amazing experience of it, and I have a sneaky suspicion that somebody in our audience might even get an opportunity for that,
Mm.
from your kindness and generosity. Will you say more though about what it is, how it works, what it's for, so people can understand even better?
Yes, absolutely. So when I came back to Maui, I opened Mind and Body Harmonics, which is a wellness center located here in Kihei, where we feature a technology called the Harmonic Egg. And that technology utilizes energy to promote the body's own healing response. It utilizes energy from sounds, from light, from the sacred geometric shape of the resonant chamber of the egg that you sit inside of for your experience. It works with the energy of your own thoughts, your intentions for each of those sessions. Together, all of this works to support our clients physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. I have the opportunity every day to help people, which is what I knew I wanted to do at 18. I didn't know how to do that. I there was no real internet at the time. So it was just a book at college and it had all the majors listed. And I was like, help people. Doctor, oh, I don't really want to be a doctor. Nurse, oh, I don't really want to be a nurse. I'm to the list. And I was like, psychology? I mean, that's helping people. Okay, I'll do that. I knew way back then that I wanted to do this. And yet my path took me further and further and further away from what I truly wanted and more towards what the world defines as success. And while I achieved those things, it didn't bring me the joy, the satisfaction that I was striving for. And now in this work, I see clients for Harmonic Egg sessions, for coaching sessions, where I see them making transformational changes, where I see them overcoming very real physical conditions, very real mental health challenges. So many people sit at my desk and say with heartfelt energy, thank you for being here. Thank you for bringing this here. And when it was first told to me, I was like, oh, yeah, no problem. I'm just so happy to be here. And it probably took, I don't know, 5 or 6 times before I allowed myself to feel the gravity of that appreciation, for which I say thank you. Thank you for this opportunity.
That's beautiful. Yeah. And I'm right there with you in terms of what is most satisfying in life is being able to contribute to someone else. And I think there's this beautiful built-in wisdom to the way you work with the Harmonic Egg. And tell me if this feels accurate, but on some level, people go into that egg and they're experiencing a vibrational shift that's bringing them maybe to their essence or to a higher level of their spirit, where that the other parts of them, or, call it disease or just lack of harmony, is left behind because it's at a different vibration. And so it's like this natural process of restoring them to their essence in some way.
Yes, to who they are. Yes. Yeah. So it's not about Sandy fixing someone. Rather, it's about allowing the space and the opportunity for them to go within to find exactly what it is that they're searching for.
Yeah, and I'm totally with you on that. And that's a huge distinction because, for a lot of us, when we get into the helping professions in whatever sort, and someone says, "Oh my God, you healed me. Thank you so much." Then there's a temptation. And I think I know I used to fall into it at times and say, "Oh, well, I must be so great that I was able to help you." But there's a built-in safety net for you in that it's not you doing it, but at the same time, it is you that heard the vision, that went through the ordeal that you went through, that took those illogical actions that seemed crazy, that had the courage to go into these things. And if we had another hour, we could talk all about the beauty of entrepreneurship and the action and the giving of that, and how that can be merged with spirituality and giving and helping people. And these days entrepreneurship gets a bad rap. So the fact that you had the courage and the chutzpah and took the action and did some of the difficult lifting, so to speak, to do all that, to create the environment, both inside yourself, to having gone through your own transformation, and to create literally the physical environment that people can come into in order to leave some less than optimal part of themselves behind and restore themselves to a higher potential. That's a lot, and that's beautiful. And that's something I hope that you feel a great sense of joy about and appreciation for having done that.
Thanks. Once I made the decision, I'm moving back to Maui and I'm bringing some Harmonic Eggs with me. It was just like, this is what I'm doing. I didn't feel like there was anything else I could do differently or get out of it. There was one time where I had this, due to circumstances, had this breakdown moment in tears where I was like, why? Why would it have to be this hard? I don't want to do this. Had I known how hard this was going to be, I wouldn't do it. This is terrible. And I instantly got this piece of something like, this is my interpretation of it. My love, we knew that. And that's why you didn't know what this path was going to look like. Stay on the path. You're on the correct path. And it's beautiful.
Yeah, that's wonderfully said. And I'm with you. And there's something I think so commendable in you in taking the chance, not knowing all of what was going to be, and something that all of us tuning in here right now can say, it's so worth it to take the chance to follow that inspiration. And I've had that, whether it's from being a parent, getting a puppy, starting a school, starting a center, launching it, whatever it was. I got to those points of saying like, oh my God, if I had known it was going to be this difficult, well, thank God that I didn't know. Thank God I was able to follow the inspiration and go forward, because you know what, in all those overcomings, I also grew so much myself and got to provide something for people.
Yes.
So speaking of provide something for people, you have generously and kindly offered a free gift for someone here for our audience. Would you be up for sharing about that?
Yes, absolutely. So now you all are like, what is this harmonic egg thing? And hopefully some of you are intrigued and are excited about, maybe I should try it out. So I'll be offering one complimentary harmonic egg session to someone participating in our audience today. If you are on the island of Maui, I will welcome you in person into Mind and Body Harmonics to physically sit inside of that egg to go, ah. And if you are not on Maui, never fear. We work with energy, and energy is not confined to the constraints of time and space. So if you are not on Maui, we have the opportunity to provide you with a remote session in the Harmonic Egg, which means that instead of physically being present in here, we will take your essence, place it inside of the egg with the same intention that you would have if you were here in person. And you will be safe and comfortable in your home, feeling that energy moving through you, providing for you assistance in the way that you're looking for.
Beautiful. Okay, so we've got one lucky winner in person or at a distance gets to experience the healing benefit of the Harmonic Egg with Sandy. And how do we choose? Do you have it already in mind? I can provide. If not, how do you choose the lucky winner?
I have nothing in mind.
Well, maybe then, since there's always a great bonus for those who show up live, that the first person that reaches out to you and says, pick me, through your Facebook page, which is up on the screen right now, Facebook Mind and Body Harmonics, could be the lucky winner. Would that be workable for you?
I love that. I love that. Pick
All
me,
right.
pick me. Yes.
Awesome. So there you have it. It's still on the screen. You can get in touch with Sandy through her Facebook page there. And then that brings us to the last, oh, so sad. We need to finish, but there'll be more. The last question I have for you. This is the big question.
Okay.
One for which you could not be prepared. Do you feel ready for the question?
Sure.
All right. The question is this: if there was only one thing that you could offer or suggest for our audience that they can do or not do in order to enhance the vibrancy of their lives, to create a more vibrant, thriving life, what would be that one suggestion?
Find 10 minutes for reals, not 5, not 7. Find 10 minutes. Each of us can make this happen. If you need to schedule it, fine. Find 10 minutes to relax in a comfortable space, sitting in a chair, lying on the floor. This could be outside, it could be inside. I want you to spend 10 minutes relaxing in comfort and allow yourself to dream. just like we did when we were kids, when we created fictitious stories in our head. Dream about where you want to be a year from today with no limitations, and be amazed at what you will find.
How cool is that? 10 minutes of dreaming. What? And you had no hesitation when I asked you that question. That was so clear as a response. So, Sandy, thank you for that. I am eager to go dream myself this
Please
afternoon.
do.
And again, thank you for coming on the show. And
Oh,
once again,
thank
from
you.
all of us to all those on Maui, especially, and everywhere around the world, we're just especially present to Maui right now because this is where we live. There are a lot of people suffering. So let's all of us take a moment of our own vibrancy and send it out in an uplifting way to all those who are suffering. Sandy, it's been such an honor to have you with us today. Thank you for coming along. And y'all who have been on the show with us live or by rebroadcast, thank you. Thank you for being dedicated to your vibrant life and uplifting the world through that. See you next week. Aloha.
Thank you. Aloha.
Mahalo for tuning in to the Art of Vibrant Living show, y'all. I'm Daniel Aaron, and may you live with great vibrancy.